The auditorium aboard the diplomatic vessel Darmarian Ascendancy was filled to the brim. Alien cadets of all shapes and species sat in rapt silence. Some had claws, others fur, one even looked like a mass of flickering bioluminescent mist, yet they all shared the same expression, focused anticipation. Today was the long-awaited Cultural Exchange Combat Seminar, and it was Earth's turn to present. "Begin recording ship log," the AI chirped in the overhead speakers. Lieutenant Cal Reyes stepped into the center of the sparring ring, armored in light flex urban combat gear. His voice echoed smoothly through the translator nodes embedded in the walls. Combat, as practiced by humans, is as diverse as our species itself. Our methods reflect not just survival, but adaptation, discipline, and in some cases, pure, unfiltered brutality. A ripple of interest moved through the crowd. Behind him, 6 human students stood at ease. Each wore a different combat uniform, ranging from a traditional samurai GI to tactical body armor, even an ancient Roman centurion breastplate. "Instructor?" a reptilian voice asked from the side. Commander Vrixall of the Zith Collective leaned forward. "Will we be seeing live techniques?" Cal nodded once. "Absolutely." He gestured toward the humans behind him. First demonstration, Jeet Kune Do, invented by Bruce Lee, emphasizing efficiency, speed, and adaptability. The young man in lightweight gear stepped forward and began to flow through the forms. Swift strikes, deflections, low stances, everything done with fluidity. Murmurs rose from the aliens. Then the second stepped up. Capoeira. Then a girl performed Krav Maga, disarming an attacker in under 4 seconds. The crowd flinched. More styles followed. A Russian woman executed Sambo throws with chilling precision. Another demonstrated Muay Thai, striking pads with a sound like snapping bone. But every time one of them performed, Cal's eyes drifted, just for a moment, to one figure near the back. A girl with dark eyes, lean muscle, and a quiet confidence. She hadn't demonstrated yet, and she noticed. So did the aliens. Commander Vrixall turned to one of his fellow officers. "Why does the instructor stare at her?" "I was about to ask the same," came the response. She was the only one wearing something different. No traditional uniform. Instead, she wore a black sleeveless bodysuit, lightweight, worn from use. "Final style," Cal said, stepping forward again. "Unofficially known as whatever works. A synthesis. Improvised, reactive, ugly, but brutally effective. This isn't taught, it's learned." He turned to the girl. "Arya, show them." She nodded, no smile, no hesitation, just movement. What followed wasn't a form. It was violence turned art. She flowed like a storm. Elbow strikes, misdirection, foot sweeps that looked like stumbles, until her opponent hit the floor. It was messy, real, fast, and no wasted motion. By the time she stopped, her opponent groaned on the mat. Arya extended a hand and pulled him up. Silence. Then, alien applause. Tapping claws, warbles, strange sounds of respect. Commander Vrixall leaned in again. "That one is not like the others." Cal's jaw tightened. "No, she's not." And in that moment, everyone in the room understood this wasn't just a demonstration, it was a warning. Later that day, the amphitheater echoed with voices, alien dialects, translator hums, the occasional metallic chittering of excited students. But in the command wing, silence fell. Cal Reyes stood alone in the observation chamber, replaying the combat footage of Arya, frame by frame, strike, pivot, counter. She didn't move like someone who had trained, she moved like someone who had survived. The door behind him hissed open. Commander Vrixall entered, his long talons tapping against the steel. "Your demonstration impressed the council. They're fascinated by the girl." "I expected as much," Cal replied without turning. The alien's vertical pupils narrowed. "You've known her longer than the others." "Yes." "How long?" "Since she was 9. That drew silence. Vrixall blinked twice, a slow gesture among his kind. "You trained her?" "No," Cal said after a moment. "I found her, or she found me, in the rubble of New Havana after the siege of 209. The siege the Tsarn refused to acknowledge, the one they tried to bury," Cal corrected sharply. Commander Vrixall stepped forward, looking through the same footage. "What happened to her there?" Cal exhaled slowly. "She survived alone for 11 months. No reinforcements, no supplies, just wreckage, drones, and what was left of a collapsed colony. She was a child. And now? Cal raised an eyebrow. She's something else. Down in the crew barracks, Arya sat alone, towel around her neck, bottle of recycled water in hand. The other cadets were laughing and boasting, but not her. She stayed silent, like always. Nice moves, said a voice. Arya didn't turn. She didn't need to. You're late, Nico. A lanky human with cybernetic eyes sat across from her. Nico gave a half grin. Was watching from the mezzanine. You scared the mist being out of that poor Shirelle. Arya just shrugged. You know they're all talking, right? About how Cal looks at you, like you're, I don't know, a weapon he lost once and just got back. Her eyes flickered to his. Do you think I am? Nico hesitated. I think you're the only person here who isn't performing. You are the style. You didn't learn it. You bled it. That almost made her smile. Almost elsewhere on the ship, diplomatic chatter filled the secure channel rooms. The girl Arya, one alien dignitary said. Is she a soldier? She's a student, replied Earth's ambassador. But there was tension behind the words. She moves like a relic, another alien added, like the last time humanity went to war. That war nearly broke half the galaxy, a voice hissed, and she is the result. Back in the observation chamber, Commander Vrixall spoke low. You know they're asking questions. The Council will want to see her record, her DNA, her loyalties. Cal finally turned away from the monitor. She doesn't belong to the Council. She belongs to Earth, then? Cal shook his head. No, she belongs to herself. But I'll tell you this. If you provoke her, if you try to turn her into some lab rat or soldier for hire, he looked straight into the alien's vertical eyes. You'll regret ever stepping foot on Earth. Vrixall studied him, then bowed his head. Understood. In her bunk that night, Arya stared at the ceiling. She didn't dream. Not anymore. But deep in her bones, something stirred. Not fear, not anticipation. Something darker. A memory of the ones who came to her planet. Of the fire and silence that followed. They'd think she was just another demonstration, but they had no idea what she remembered. And soon, they'd learn. The Grand Hall of the Coalition Academy gleamed with silver columns and holographic banners from 100 worlds. Delegates from every species filled the gallery balconies. On the central platform, the best cadets from each combat school stood at attention. It was Demonstration Day, the day when species showcased their elite students. A tradition, yes, but also a political dance. Who trained the fiercest warriors? Who held the edge in the ever-teetering peace? The humans were last on the roster. Cal Reyes stood at the podium. His voice, calm and clipped, echoed through the auditorium. Human combat is not a discipline. It is not a science. It is an instinct tempered by desperation, refined through loss. A few snickers among the Zarn delegation. One of them muttered something about primitive rituals. Cal didn't react. We are not here to boast. We're here to remember. Each move you see today was born in the blood of a species that has never had the luxury of peace. Then he stepped back. Arya walked forward. No fanfare. No flourish. Just a girl with scars beneath her uniform and silence in her footsteps. The arena shifted, hard light projections forming a ruined cityscape. Crushed metal, smoke, drones. The crowd leaned forward. Then the simulation began. She moved like wind and fire. No wasted motion, no hesitation. One drone swooped. She rolled, drew a kinetic blade, and severed its spine mid-air. Two more flanked her. She leapt between them, using one's shoulder as a launch pad to twist and slam the second into a wall. Then the heavy infantry bots entered. The crowd expected evasion. Instead, she advanced, straight at them, and smiled. It was the first time she smiled in front of the council, and it wasn't reassuring. She's not demonstrating. She's remembering, Nico whispered from the human box. She's reliving something, another cadet added. This isn't performance. This is muscle memory. Down in the gallery, several alien dignitaries looked visibly uncomfortable. Was this authorized? One hissed to Cal. He said nothing. Arya's blade shattered against the last drone's shield. She dropped it without hesitation and used a nearby rebar pipe instead. A twist. A scream of metal. The bot crumpled. The simulation ended. She stood there, breathing steady, among the wreckage, alone, undefeated. Applause broke out, polite at first, then unsure, then thunderous from a portion of the gallery. But not everyone clapped. Some counselors stared in silence. Commander Vrixall approached Cal at the edge of the chamber. You shouldn't have let her show that. I didn't, Cal said. She chose the sequence. Then she's not under control. No, he replied. She's under her control, and that's the only reason this demonstration wasn't real. Backstage, Arya sat alone in the debrief room. Her hands trembled slightly, but not from fear, from restraint. Cal entered, closed the door. You broke protocol. They sent me footage from a Zarn colony attack last night, she said. It looked just like New Havana. He nodded. You kept it together. Not for them, for me. I didn't want to lose myself in front of that many eyes. Cal sat beside her. You did more than that. She looked at him. They know now, don't they? What I am. Not yet, he said, but they're beginning to guess. Far above in the Coalition Archive Tower, a cloaked figure replayed the footage again and again. The girl's form, her stance. The moment she stopped fighting and hunted, he tapped a data pad. Subject, Arya Santos. Status, monitored, potential threat, high, initiate, observation protocol. 7. His eyes narrowed. She's the key to their evolution, he murmured, or their next war. Or their next war. The Coalition Council convened in emergency session. The demonstration had sparked more than awe. It had sparked fear. Arya's performance wasn't simply a highlight of human combat. It had shown something ancient, something unspoken, something that hunted back. They sent a girl, hissed Counselor Drevek of the Calvor Dominion, mandibles twitching. A girl who moved like an apex predator. That was not training. That was instinct. She was in control, offered Counselor Men from the Joran trade sphere, though her voice lacked conviction. Commander Vrixall leaned forward. In my long centuries, I have seen ferocity, but never a species that teaches it to their youth. This Arya Santos, she is not a soldier. She is a reminder of what we've tried to forget. Silence. Then the chair spoke. Activate whisper protocol. There were gasps across the chamber. Even Drevek paused, antennae stiff. That's a Cold War measure, Men objected. We use it for species extinction alerts, rogue AI emergences. The chair didn't blink, and now we use it for her. Meanwhile, back on the human vessel, Ashlight Arya stood in the gym, facing an AI-generated opponent. She'd been pushing herself harder since the demonstration. Too hard. Her strikes had begun to chip into the reinforced floor plating. She didn't sleep much anymore. Nico stood outside the door, hesitant. He watched her for a moment. The way she moved, not like a student anymore, like something sharpened. He entered. You okay? She paused, breathing hard, hair stuck to her temples. No. Honesty. Brutal and simple. Nico stepped closer. You were incredible at the demonstration, but it's got the council rattled. Good, she said. They should be. Arya. He hesitated. There's something off. Ever since that sim, it's like you're pulling from something you don't want to talk about. Her eyes flicked to him, then back to the floor. It's not from training, Nico, she said. It's from before. Flashback, 2 years earlier, Earth colony, New Havana, buildings on fire, sky choked with ash. The Zephyr had come in fast, metal wings and sonic screams. They didn't take prisoners. Arya, just 16, dragged her brother through alleys. Blood soaked her shirt. Her father was already gone. She found a maintenance drone, rewired it into a makeshift turret, set traps, used shards of glass and old tools. By dawn, she was the only human left breathing within 10 city blocks, and 6 Zephyr commandos were dead. That's when the Coalition found her, not crying, not broken, waiting. Back in the present, Commander Cal sat alone in his quarters, reviewing the footage again, frame by frame, every strike, every dodge, and always, he stopped at the same moment. The smile, She had smiled before the final charge, a predator's smile, the kind he'd only seen once before, during the Garen uprising, in the face of a Terran Marine with a broken leg, charging 3 war beasts with nothing but a flamer and a grin. He closed the file and opened a secure channel. Priority 1. Encryption, Gamma Tau. The screen flickered. The face that answered wore a human military insignia. Cal's voice was low. "We may have another one." "Another what?" "Another Black Fang candidate." The voice on the other end went silent. Then, "God help us. Elsewhere." Deep within Coalition Central Intelligence, a team analyzed Arya's DNA. Something in her sequence pulsed, a dormant cluster, active only under trauma, a genetic relic, a design. One analyst murmured, "She's not just a human, she's adaptive." "Not adaptive," corrected his superior. "She's the next iteration." As night fell aboard the Ashlight, Arya stood at the observation window, eyes on the stars. She sensed it now, eyes watching, systems moving, secrets surfacing. She whispered to herself, "You wanted a warrior. You got me." Behind her, the stars shimmered with distant fire. The war hadn't started yet, but something far older had awakened. Aboard the Coalition observation vessel Auric Dawn, cloaked and silent, 5 specialists watched the human cadet known as Arya Santos. "She shouldn't exist," murmured Operative Valen, watching her combat logs. "Not without augmentation." "She doesn't need augmentation," replied Colonel Rin. "She is the augmentation." Each day, Arya trained harder, faster, stronger. The AI training modules began to fail, not from technical glitches but from damage. Systems couldn't calculate her attack vectors fast enough. Subroutines lagged, misfired. She broke a level 7 combat drone in under 8 seconds. Rin tapped a control pad. "Send in an Oros-class AI sim. Let's see how she handles pain." Onboard the Ashlight. Sim Room 3. Arya stepped into the chamber, blinking at the sudden shift in temperature. Ice fog billowed from vents. A humanoid figure stood waiting, tall, sleek, red-lit eyes and silver claws. No preamble, no instructions. Oros class. She'd heard of them. War AIs once used in border conflicts. Later decommissioned for being too effective. They didn't stop at disarming you. They made sure you couldn't ever fight again. Arya smiled. "Finally," she muttered. The Oros lunged. It was unlike any simulation she'd faced. The AI adapted instantly. When she struck its knee, it pivoted. When she went low, it went lower. Each blow felt like punching a steel monolith, but Arya was no longer a cadet. She flowed, ducked, slammed her elbow into its side, then vaulted off the wall, snapping a kick into the Oro's jaw. The AI stumbled. Arya landed, breathing hard. Her knuckles bled. She grinned again. "Getting slow, old man?" she taunted. The AI didn't reply. But the Watchers did. "On the Auric Dawn, she's toying with it," said Valen. "She's calculating," Rin corrected. "Every move, every feint. She's pushing it to test her own limits, not to win." "And if she breaks them?" Rin didn't answer, because deep down, he wasn't sure there were limits. Elsewhere. Coalition Genetics Division. Dr. Sareth stared at the screen, horrified. "It's not possible," she whispered. "What?" asked her assistant. "Her DNA. It's not just human. There's something encoded." "Engineered?" Sareth shook her head. "Evolved, but not over millions of years, over generations, intentionally, selectively. Someone has been breeding for this." She turned slowly. "She's not the first." The assistant blinked. "There are more?" Sareth's lips were dry. "There were, most burned out, couldn't handle the acceleration. But this one... Arya, she's stable." The assistant looked ill. "Stable for what?" Back on the Ashlight, after the simulation. Arya sat alone, hands wrapped, staring at the blood on her knuckles. Nico entered quietly. "You didn't report your injuries." "They'll heal," she muttered. "That's not the point," he said, kneeling. "You're pushing harder than anyone else in the fleet." "Why?" She looked at him, and for the first time, Nico saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. "Because I feel it inside me," she said. "Something that isn't just human. Something I can't turn off. When I fight, it takes over, and I like it." Nico swallowed. You're scared of yourself. She nodded. Yes. Meanwhile, deep space. Commander Cal received a new file. Subject, Santos. Area, authorization, Eclipse Red. Classification, Black Fang Protocol. Candidate confirmed. Underneath it, a single sentence. Prepare containment or conversion. There is no third option. Unknown location, underground facility. A figure in shadows observed multiple screens. Children sparred, teens meditated. One screamed as bone grew over cybernetic plating. Then, the screen showing Arya. She's nearly ready, the figure said. A voice behind him whispered, You think she'll return to us? She won't have a choice. They turned to a stasis pod labeled Fang-01, active, back aboard the Ashlight. Arya dreamed. The sky over Ashlight Station was dark, not from night, but from the activation of Eclipse protocols. Lights dimmed to red, auto doors locked, and an eerie silence settled across the training facility. Arya Santos stood in the center of the main atrium, hair damp from the emergency shower she'd stumbled into after waking from the dream. No, memory. You're not a soldier, Arya. You're a weapon, and every weapon has a trigger. The words echoed like a virus through her mind. Her heart pounded with something more than adrenaline now. It was awakening. A system she'd never been trained for. A voice broke the silence. They're here for you, Arya. Nico. Standing in the shadows, holding her jacket. Eyes sharp, expression unreadable. She turned. Who's they? Command. Black Fang, the ones who made you. Elsewhere. Command Center, orbiting Relay 5. Colonel Rin paced, watching the flickering feed from Ashlight. She's activating. Valen, white-knuckled beside him, snapped, Then trigger containment. Rin didn't respond. He turned to another officer. Is the package in place? A nod. Send it. Ashlight, Tactical Bay. As Arya rushed toward the hangar, Nico beside her, explosions rocked the station. Automated drones surged down the corridors. Black armor, glowing red visors. Not standard military, Black Fang retrieval units. Nico slammed a panel, opening a side door. They're not here to talk, Arya. They want to reset you. Reset me? You're a living weapon. You were never supposed to wake up. Her fist clenched. She didn't want this. She just wanted to be a soldier, a person, not some classified experiment. But it was too late. The trigger had already been pulled. Minutes later, observation deck. She was surrounded. 10 Black Fang operatives circled her. Nico lay unconscious behind a fallen beam. Plasma rifles hummed. A voice crackled through a helmet speaker. Santos, Subject F-09, surrender. You are not cleared for free deployment. She raised her eyes. Breathing hard. You're right. I'm not cleared. Her hand reached into the neck of her uniform. Click. Her finger tapped the bone-embedded node she'd always thought was scar tissue. A hidden implant. Reactivated. Her pupils dilated. Time slowed. The hum of plasma rifles became a whisper. Target vectors lit up her vision. The world became a chessboard. She moved. Surveillance feed. 12 seconds of silence. In 12 seconds, 8 trained operatives were down. 1 fled. 1 begged. She didn't kill them, but she could have. The weapon didn't need to kill. It only needed to prove it could. And Arya had just made her point. Orbit. Command Center. Rin exhaled. She didn't break, he whispered. Valen shook his head. No, she chose. She's not a program. She's human. Rin turned slowly. No. She's something more. Later that night, Nico's quarters. Nico woke to find her sitting beside him, bruised and quiet. You okay? He rasped. She didn't answer immediately. Then, they built me for war, but I was raised by peacekeepers. I'm not what they wanted. You're what we need. She looked at him, truly looked. Then I'll fight, but on my terms. Deep within the Coalition's black vault. Data streams flowed. A profile blinked. Fang-09, status awake. Recommendation, upgrade to asset tier prime. Beneath that, a message slowly typed itself. Begin phase 2. She's only the beginning.